Hello and welcome to Property Mastermind podcast with Bob Anderson and Hilary Saxton, episode 98. Today we're talking property development sites stacking up. This is going to be an interesting episode. A few of you might be asking that question yourself. We're going to delve into the reasons why you might think they are, why you might think they aren't. We will give you our opinion, and I think you're going to be pretty excited with what we come up with. So anyway, let's jump into episode 98. Welcome to episode 98. Yes, Hilary Saxton and Bob Anderson, Property Mastermind podcast. I said it the other way around for the first time. Did you notice?
No.
I said Bob Anderson and Hilary Saxton.
Oh, well, that won't happen too often.
No, generally people say the man's name first. I don't know. Anyway, giving away... Sorry, what were you going to say?
That's rubbish, putting the man's name first.
It is a bit of a rubbish.
You started off this whole podcast thing.
I know. Oh my God, it's so embarrassing when people say to me, "Oh, I'm following your podcast." And I go, "Oh, please don't listen to the first 10.
Come in at episode 40, please.
We definitely get better. And there are varying reasons for that. But want to give away a copy of Property Millionaires Exposed. Jeff Grippingale, going to you this week. I'll be sending out a text to you. This is going to you. Head to page 121.
Yep. Good place to start.
Yep, it's only about property developing. So, yes. Are property development sites stacking up?
Some are.
Some are. You might be thinking, geez, they look a bit different. Well, two things. I've got my hair up for the first time.
I haven't seen your hair up on a potty before.
No, because I cut it all off and I grew it back and I was in between styles. And
your hair grows faster than the grass. And I mow the grass regularly.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And the coloured shirt. And
Anyway,
got it going on.
I'm plain and boring and look at you.
Anyway, less about that. And you might hear a different energy today.
What is it?
Well, tell the truth.
Are you sparked up?
We've had a glass of wine.
One glass.
Are you allowed to drink and podcast?
Well, we're not drinking and podcasting.
No, we had one glass
We had a little celebratory glass of wine prior, and the reason is why?
The reason is because finally, after, is it 4 years or 5 years? We have to ask Rebecca and Dagmar, because it was when we went to their wedding, so we'll have to ask them.
After their wedding, yeah.
I started writing a book, and I finished it, I edited, I worked with multiple editors. You just get so wound up about putting out something perfect. Anyway, I got my book back this week, so it's my last look through. It is formatted, it is good to go, and the publisher is just waiting for me to say yes. So we kind of thought there. We thought we should have a glass of wine, and the book is called 3 Wines In, which is ironic. Yep. How to have self-confidence today and achieve everything you want without the hangover tomorrow. And it's really for women. So men, if you'd like to buy a copy, you can buy a copy for your daughters and wives.
A lot of good stuff in there for men too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's more of a girl.
It is more of a girl's book.
And females, we all need to get one. My daughter read it for the first time. At first time she said she'd ever read a book in the last 5 years. She just finished it and absolutely loved it without being biased. So she's not a reader, so that was cool.
Yeah, no. For her to read a book, something.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So it's out. And it's nearly
almost out.
I'm about 3 weeks away till you can get a real copy.
3 weeks away from 3 Wines In.
Maybe it's 4 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks. So anyway, we had a glass of wine.
So let's get excited and get started. What do we got?
Well, we've got, Bob, the reason for this topic today.
Yeah, tell me. And the topic, once again, is, are property development sites stacking up?
And it's more like, are they stacking up at the moment? And this came about because I had a phone call. I have a lot of phone calls.
You get a lot of phone calls.
I talk to a lot of guys.
And girls.
Yeah, I do.
Don't blame it all on the guys.
I talk to a lot of people. But this guy rang and he said to me, so it's
more like a statement from what you told me.
No, he was really questioning it. He said, a property development site's really stacking up. And then...
Loaded question. It sounds like he thinks they're not.
Oh, I definitely thought they weren't. And I'm so glad he did ring, because I was able to have a chat with him. But his reason for asking me was, are you ready? Hold on to your seat, Bob.
This is interesting.
It is interesting, because he had listened to a podcast that had said that there are no...
The podcast said that there are no development sites that stack up.
I think they were implying more on smaller sites like splitter sites and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure on that.
No.
After talking to him...
We didn't hear the podcast. We're getting it secondhand.
Yes, we are getting it secondhand. And I just said to him, well, okay, that's interesting. I said, where... He goes, I've just heard that. And I said, oh, where did you hear that?
Must be true if he heard it.
Well, yeah. I said, where did you hear it? He said, I listened to a podcast. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh.
Who was the podcast from? He goes, oh, these young guys just started a new podcast. And I was like...
There's a problem.
Said,
young guys starting a podcast.
Starting a new podcast.
On property development? Or
yeah.
No, we don't know what it's about. Property.
It was something about property. And, of course, property is a hot subject. So you put property in your topic and people will listen to it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was very interesting because he was of the opinion, and he wanted me to show him otherwise. He really did. He wanted me to show him that it does work, that property development sites are stacking up.
Well, if they're not, nothing's getting built.
Exactly.
Builders would be out of work. There'd be no utes clogging up the street. There'd be nothing getting built if it didn't stack up. I mean, it has to stack up. If something's being built, I'm not just talking about a single house where somebody's just building a house for themselves.
No.
I'm talking about anything more than that. And let's say, blocks getting cut in half, duplexes, townhouses, whatever, doesn't matter, apartments, 50-storey apartment blocks, doesn't really matter. If they don't stack up, they don't get built. If they don't stack up, nobody builds them. Nobody will finance them if they don't stack up. So if something is getting built out there, if blocks are getting cut in two, or three or four or five, if duplexes are getting built, if townhouses are getting built, if apartments are getting built, they stack up.
Too right. I went back a step. Well, actually, I chatted to him for a while, but then you and I talked afterwards, and that's where we went back a step. And you said to me, so what was their agenda?
Yeah.
The people with having the conversation on the podcast, if they were to say that there aren't sites stacking up, it's not working, and there are some good examples. There have been builders go under, and that they are, but those examples don't necessarily match what we're talking about.
No, and that doesn't mean sites didn't stack up. It meant lots of other things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So when I said that, your response was, what was their agenda? And I thought,
it always is.
Everyone's got an agenda. We've got an agenda.
We've got an agenda. I like our agenda.
Yeah, exactly. Our agenda is to educate you, get you to understand that especially him, he's pretty blooming knowledgeable, and that you can know, like, and trust us. We know what we're doing. You've developed for 39 plus years.
I'll be saying that in 10 years' time.
Well, there'll be 49 plus years.
I can never say that.
Why not? Why not?
I remember when I used to get upset saying 30 years.
Oh, God.
I used to say 29.
Oh. I actually just heard somebody the other day in Georgia, who does our marketing, say, it must be 40 years soon. I heard you kind of cringe at it, so it probably
I've been saying 39 for 2 years.
Oh, have you? Okay.
It's like your birthday. You just hit this plateau and you just go backwards.
Oh, not me.
Anyway.
So what was their agenda? Yeah, what was their agenda?
Well, they're definitely not into property development.
Maybe, and we thought
they should know better.
They were property investors, or the whole world's buyer's agent these days. So maybe they were just buyer's agents trying to create interest.
Not sell development sites, that's for sure.
No.
Sell investment properties or something. I don't know what their agenda was. They're young, which is okay. Nothing wrong with young people.
I've got a few. You've got a few.
Yeah, we've got some young people.
Yeah.
I'd like to know. I'll have to find out more about them and find out what their agenda was. So obviously, if they don't want you to develop by saying that nothing stacks up, then they must want you to buy a finished product. But the finished product got developed.
Yes, exactly. So we're here to say, and so you hang in and listen to the whole podcast, hooey pooey fooey, sites are
He played wing for the All Blacks.
Hooey pooey
Hooey
fooey.
tooey fooey.
No, he did not.
Didn't he? Somebody like that.
That sites are stacking up, and they... But there's a lot more to it.
Look, there are sites that are stacking up. That's the thing.
Yes.
Do all sites stack up? Heck no. Most don't.
But in your experience,
a
Bob,
vast majority of sites don't stack up.
But has it always been like that? Or there are periods of time that more stack up than less?
Oh, yeah. It ebbs and flows. But, I mean, every site that is zoned correctly for a development doesn't mean they stack up.
Yep.
If they come on the market, okay? Why is that? The biggest reason is they're overpriced. That's why they don't stack up. The land's too expensive. By the time you put in all your other costs, your construction, consultants, finance, everything else, they don't stack up.
Yep.
That is the main reason why you don't do a project, because the land is too expensive. And why is it too expensive? Lots of reasons. It could be simply a greedy seller.
It could also be a mum and dad seller who don't understand. They saw the neighbour's site sell for something expensive and they think that theirs is the same, and it's not. It's the other side of the road, it's different, all sorts of things.
That. It could be that it's worth more as a house, which is what we call highest and best use. If you've got a site that, let's say it's zoned and you can do 3 townhouses on it, it has a particular value that you have to buy it for to make it worthwhile. You know, to make it stack up, to give you enough profit to get it financed, to worth, you know, take the risk of doing it. The problem is that number might be lower than what it's worth as a house. And so the highest and best use is a house. So when those people go to sell that site, they'll just sell it at the house value. And somebody will buy it as a house. And it never stacked up as a development
or
site.
a developer buys it, and that's what we refer to, or Bob refers to, as
duck.
a wood duck. A wood duck buys a property and then either does the development, loses money.
Well, he won't do it probably because he won't get the
finance. And that's the other thing.
He might get the finance to buy it, and he'll get a development permit, and he'll get right through to when he needs to get to the construction finance, and it'll all fall apart. That's when you know it doesn't stack up.
And then it goes on the market as a property with a DA. Not always, but often.
Well,
sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, he might be better off selling. He might get more as a house than as a development site. We've seen plenty of examples. In our workshops that we do, our 3-day workshops, I use some examples of that. I'm thinking I'd show somebody, this is a property that's worth $800,000 as a house. It's worth $50,000 as a 5 townhouse development, because you can do 5 townhouses on it. People say that's impossible. Well, no, we see it all the time. Highest and best use. And there might be a lot of issues why it works as a house and you can't build townhouses on it. You can't get rid of the sewage. Anyway, lots of reasons. But it can be that. It can be greedy vendors. It can be the fact that it's worth more as a house. It could be that some areas with the profit margins are a bit tight. But like in a year's time, they might be okay. Things move around. You know, that's why it's important to choose an area where there is. If you choose an area where there's a fair bit of development going on, there is a reason why it's going on.
It's probably working.
Well, yeah, because like I said before, unless the developer uses 100% cash, no finance at all, unless they do that, if they borrow money, a couple of things have to happen. The financier has to be assured that it makes a profit, and they use a valuer. So you have to get past the valuer, then you have to get past the financier. And so that's the thing about, you know, and if there's developments going on, then those developers got past the valuation, it stacked up, they got past the finance, they got the finance. You know, as very few developers just use pure cash and no debt.
And you know what, that's probably a little bit of a good point to sort of point out, is that if you see one development happening in an area and you think, oh, cool, this is working, maybe they could just have cash, and that's why it does work. 2 reasons: they're not paying interest, or there's all sorts of things. So there's a wee takeaway there that's quite useful. If you just see one development, not an owner building their own home, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, if I had enough cash to do a 4 townhouse development without going to the bank, I would rather do 2 and borrow half the money, or I'd rather do 3 and borrow 2/3 of the money. That's what I'd rather do. And use leverage, the leverage of debt, borrowing, make a lot more money.
So let's go back to where their information came from, and it makes us want to point out. So we're going to point out where it came from, and then we're going to tell you about some success stories that are happening right now.
Yeah.
So anything to do with podcasts, blogs, Instagram, the internet and websites is just anyone can put anything out there. So it's opinion based. And I think that we all fall prey to believing, because it's on the internet, that it's true. Oh my gosh, my mother's a classic. I'll Google it, then the answer is correct. It's like, oh my goodness, that is not true.
Yeah. It's often opinions, or they have a vested interest in trying to steer the dialogue in a particular direction.
Oh, look at the news.
Well,
Classic is just being steered at what you want to hear or what the people want you to hear.
It's what sells.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad news sells, good news doesn't sell. You know.
So we really have to realise that a lot of the information we hear is just an opinion. And that's okay. Everyone's allowed one. But you need to take that on board and be a little bit sceptical.
Yeah, and what about the person who's saying it? What credentials do they have? What experience do they have? What are they basing it on? Do they have a hidden agenda for saying that? You know, you've got to dig a bit deeper.
I love the word agenda because I work as a coach.
And a hidden agenda especially.
Oh, love it, because coaches don't, and this is for all the coaches out there, coaches don't have an agenda. Their agenda is your success. So they're not impacted by your outcome. The only outcome they want for you is success. And that's why I love that word. What is their agenda? If you work with a coach, their agenda is you. So they're not related. They don't make anything from you, changing things apart from you've paid them a fee. It is so good.
Yeah.
And that's not a plug for myself. I'm not looking for any clients.
Yeah.
but that's so true. But what is the agenda of the people? You're right. That are telling you what they tell you in the internet.
Well, we see that all the time in
But there
marketing.
are benefits of the internet. There are, there's
huge.
connecting and,
Just the information you can
yeah, of course.
Oh, we use the internet all the time with our developments. I mean, you get so much information about properties off the internet, offline. Some of it you pay for and some of it's free, of course. But.
And that's another good point, Bob. You use the internet to find out facts. Like things like before you dig is a fact.
What did the property down the road sell for?
That is a fact. Yeah, versus an opinion. Yeah. So, if you use it for fact seeking, but if you're just Googling and reading somebody's blog or listening to their podcast, it might not be factual.
No, a lot of that's not.
So let's go through.
They don't call it fake book for no reason.
Facebook. Let's go through some facts that have happened for us over the last few with properties.
In the last short term?
Yeah, the last short term.
A few weeks? How long?
Let's go month.
Okay.
Let's go 6 weeks. 6 weeks is a good amount of time.
Yeah, I like 6 weeks.
Let's go 6 weeks. Facts around property development, around us and our mentoring students. And so this is even people that that maybe have done our course. We don't know those people. So this is only the people we work with. And remember, we only work with a limited amount of people.
Yeah.
Us, we've bought a site to do a development on.
Yep.
Currently, you're developing something huge, and yours is a 99. I'm a 4-pack.
Yep.
But they're pre. They're they're a few years in. Okay, and back to the last 6 weeks. One of the mentoring students. When does he go unconditional?
Is this the guy that got a really good deal?
Yeah, hell of a deal.
It's a 42-day contract. It's probably 14 days in. He'll have his DA almost ready to lodge by the time he settles.
And that's what happens when you work with me weekly. Trust me. That is such a good... He got the best deal from heaven.
It's a 22-month project. He'll make about $700,000 out of that.
Not bad.
Little part-time job.
Little part-time job. I think he'll end up
Very
making it his
part-time.
full-time job. But okay, so that's that one.
Yeah, but doing it's part-time.
Half
a day a week.
Talked to another mentoring student today. I thought he's found his patch that's working, and he's negotiating right now. So that's another. Yes.
He's pretty close to getting something.
Talked to a different mentoring students. Was it yesterday or this morning? Might have been yesterday afternoon. He's got one in selling mode, so selling. He's got one in construction and one in for DA. And I said, well, hey, mate, it's time you get that first one in here. So, I mean, these are all right now things happening. And we actually just put an offer in, 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
We didn't get it.
No, not quite close enough. We had our figure. We know what our figure is. If we can't get it, well,
but I'm going to say
let them go out there and sweat. We could end up with that site.
Yeah, we didn't get
it's always
it
yet.
I think we'll get it.
Yeah, they'll come to reality. It's one of those overpriced things.
Yep.
Absent vendor, doesn't understand the market well enough. but we'll hang in there.
And who else is there? Like, we've got so many in construction. We've got so many. To be fair, if they're in construction, they're a few months back.
Yeah.
So this person is talking now. So I think the relevance of now is that I just gave 3 examples of now.
I'm not thinking of more too.
Oh, really? Give me some more.
The 3-pack in the good area.
Yep.
Extended contract, 6-month contract.
Yep.
DA well underway.
Yep. And
investor just getting organised to settle in 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, and this is just off the cuff without even seriously thinking about it. So much happening. Another mentoring student went to auction the other day, and it sold. She knew her figure.
Yeah, just missed out on that. That's okay. Went close.
Yep.
Yep.
So if you're wondering if property development sides are working, we're saying yes, they are.
They're there.
Yeah.
Depends on the project a bit.
Yes.
I mean, if you're looking at, say, 2-lot subdivisions or splitters, which are a type of 2-lot subdivision, they're never easy to get a good profit margin on.
And the thing with those, they're
reasons.
fast. Everyone does them. They love them.
Well, I've been in and out of a splitter in 3 months, from the time I purchase it to the time I settle the sales.
Yeah.
But they're hard to... You got to look at a lot of them to find one that makes enough money. Because a lot of people can afford them. They're quick, they're easy, and quite often there's very little margin. You have to look at quite a few to make one stack. Some people are happy enough to do a 2-lot subdivision, even if the subdivision doesn't make much money. Let's say it makes 4 or 5% margin. Not much. I wouldn't do one that only made that much.
To give them the why, because something goes wrong.
It's too risky.
Yeah, it's
before you know it, you made no money. But if you could build a house on the lots that you subdivide, you might find that 4 or 5% turns into 14 or 15, which makes it worthwhile. So it does depend on the project in terms of things stacking up.
And I think you mentioned that with the 2-lot subbies, they're so popular that that's why they're a little bit harder to find, really.
Most people can afford them. Look,
a lot of the educators promote them as they go-to as well.
Yeah. Of course they do. But it's often that you have to demolish the house to get the 2 lots.
Yeah.
And it's often not worth it because the 2 lots are not necessarily worth more than the house on the double lot. And then, of course, it might cost you $100,000 to do the 2-lot subdivision, plus you have to make a profit. So all of a sudden you're looking for a $200,000 differential between the value of a house plus compared to the value of 2 completed lots. And if that gap's not there, then it's not there. And often it's not. I've seen plenty of 2-lot subdivisions that if you bought them and actually knocked the house down and turned it into 2 lots, you'd lose money easily. Yeah.
So right now, Bob, throwing a question at you. I know, and I really kind of know the answer to this anyway, but just in case there's something I haven't thought of.
Curly one.
Yeah, a bit of a curly one. Can we say it's more patch related, it's more, which are easy to find, because some things are easier to find, and we've just had an example of things that are harder to find, just 2-lot subby, where people just cut the land in half and sell it. Yeah, that stack up. So what are easier right now? Is it 1 into 3? Is it depend on the patch?
The more lots, the better you get. Like, you're more likely to get a margin out of a 1 into 3 lot subdivision than a 1 into 2, and more so a 1 into 4. It just gives you more scope because it doesn't necessarily cost the same per lot when you get there's economies of scale when you get a few extra lots. And you might only have to, if you have to demolish a house to get 2 lots, it's quite different than if you have to demolish a house to get 3 lots.
Yeah.
You might have a 1,200 metre lot that you can cut into 300-400s. There's a house sitting on it. Or you might have an 800 metre lot with a house on it that you only get 2 lots out of. So you lose a house either way, but you get 3 lots or 2 lots. And you might pay a bit more for the 3-lot house, but there's more likelihood that you're going to get a margin on that, on just having more lots. Beyond that, once you start building, it gives you another opportunity to make profit out of the construction side of things. So if you're thinking of a 2-lot subdivision, it could be a 2-lot subdivision where you build 2 houses. It could be a duplex where you build on 1 lot and then cut it into 2. Or what one of our mentoring students is doing, and he's found several sites.
Oh, he actually, I forgot about him.
Don't forget about that guy.
Oh, he's a legend. Can't say too much.
So he's doing really well on small subdivision and builds.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And we'll just leave that there. You never want to give away somebody's patch when they're nailing it.
Oh, we wouldn't do that. But,
No.
but like, he is absolutely smashing it.
Yeah, and finding plenty. So, yes, I forgot about that one. So see how casual this conversation can be, and then we have realisations.
The beautiful part is that of all those ones we've mentioned, we're part of it.
Oh, yeah, fully part of it. Know them.
Well, they're in our mentoring program, so we're working with them and helping them. We're helping them find sites and do feasibilities and crunch the numbers and organise the investors and get the finance and all that. So it's what we do. It's what we love. It's why we do it.
It is what we do, what we love, and why we do it. So, Bob, really, at the end of the day, I think we've got to say, whatever you learn on the internet, you have to understand that a lot of the time it's an opinion, unless it's fact.
Yep.
And, be careful be careful who you get your opinions from, because, this guy that I spoke to would have gone, oh, I'm not going to do property development. It's something I've always wanted to do. But now he probably is he's more along the lines of, okay, I get it now. So, yep, I'd be very careful about who I...
If somebody was silly enough to believe some silly statement like that from 2 people in probably their second podcast, they're probably not cut out for property development.
Yeah.
You've got to do your due diligence on property, and you've got to do your due diligence on people.
Yes. And at the end of the day, you've got to know what you're doing. When it comes to property development, you just have to know what you're doing. And you don't want to be a wood duck.
No, there's no joy being a wood duck.
No, because wood ducks make mistakes, and mistakes in property development are costly. So that's it. Yep. I think at the end of the day, stop being marketed to.
Yeah.
Stop.
Or stop being sucked into some of the marketing anyway.
Yeah.
Be discerning. Dig deeper. Do your due diligence. Ask questions.
Yeah, that's what you've got to be doing. So,
no, there are sites out there that stack up. We see them all the time. You just got to filter through them. So, look, you've got to do your due diligence on people, on your educator, on your projects.
Yeah.
You were telling me the other day about somebody you spoke to, somebody who contacted us, who had done a mentoring program with somebody, hadn't done anything during that 12 months, was made to feel guilty at the end of it, and basically pushed into signing up for another 12 months.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's unfortunate.
It was kind of like it's their fault, and I get that.
It can happen. Look, there's people that do programs and don't necessarily have instant results. They can, have lagging results.
But with mentoring, though, the idea, like for us, the idea is you do a project.
Yeah, and that's pretty well the case.
What about the COVID thing? When we had that group of people that joined just prior to COVID, and they went through that time where...
It was tough then.
Oh, they couldn't get out. And this was before we were used to being online so much as well. It was really difficult for that.
You almost forget about it. But you're right. I mean, banks tightened up. They weren't lending money. You couldn't get out to inspect properties. Even if you had them, like trying to sell them, you couldn't get people through them. It was a pretty tough time.
It was.
And so we had some people who'd come through and hadn't progressed as much as they wanted to because of all those constraints.
Or as much as we wanted them to.
Well, as much as we wanted them to. But you came up with a solution, which I thought was pretty incredible.
I said to Bob, why don't we put them all into a syndicate, and they could all put in a small amount of money each, where they could do a deal, and with that deal they would get their money back and they would make a profit. Not a huge one, but they made more profit than you'd make.
Well, I think
a decent profit.
Profit cover their mentoring fees for a couple of times over.
Yeah.
But then they had the education of learning from being involved in a project
and actually going through a full project.
And it shows up on your CV that you've developed one, which is always handy when you're looking for finance. So, I mean, that's the difference, I suppose, between us and maybe the odd other person.
Most of.
Yeah, pull that together. That was great.
It was, and I think that's marketing that should be talked about, or that's kind of, I don't know. We've changed topics really, but I don't know how it came to that. I think it came from don't be fooled by marketing.
Don't be fooled by marketing. Be discerning.
Yeah,
do your DD on people and on developments.
Anyway, I think we'll cut it off there, Bob. At the end of the day, you have to know what you're doing. You need to get a decent education, and
how do you do that?
Okay, here we go. You can do our workshop.
That'd be a good way.
We've got our workshop coming out at the end of the May. It's online, but you buy the online and you get the live for free, or you buy the live, you get the online for free. Buy one, get two. So if you're interested in that, there'll be a link below. Jump in and learn from the master himself. But if you want to talk to us about anything, whether it's investing in property developments, whether it's our mentoring program, or whether it's just what we offer, and it could just be a chat, feel free to reach out. Details are below. We love talking to people, and it's not all about the sell. It's about what you need. All right. Yep. I think that's it, Bob.
That's a wrap.
Oh, my book's coming out.
Oh, your book.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about that.
Yeah, I know, but we'll have to just say, look out for it.
3 wines in.
We'll
let you know when it hits the stalls.
We will. See ya.
Bye.